How's it going, everybody? Nerds Rising here, and welcome back to the Nerd Cave. In today's video, we're going to be taking a look at my latest Ultra League team that has gotten me up back above 3,000 ELO. Now, I'm going to be honest with you folks, the Ultra League is not my best league. It's not my favorite either, but the reason it's not my best league is simply just because I don't have a lot of optimized Pokemon for it. A lot of the top mons, if you look on PvPoke, are XL Pokemon that require tons and tons of grinding to access, tons of stardust, lots of just time and resources that I tend to just expend on other leagues like the Great League, for example. So Ultra League, not my best league, so I normally don't play it actually at high elos just because I tend to do poorly. But the other day, I was feeling inspired and I thought, can I put together a very strong Ultra League team that can climb and, like, as you see, like the 2,900 ELO range that requires no XLs, no Legendaries, and that's exactly what I did, folks. I had all positive sets with this team. It's very versatile. I wouldn't say it's cheap because it does require some Stardust. Like, even though there's not XL candy required, these are, you know, fairly maxed out. Like the Obstagoon's at like right around level 40. The Venusaur's right around level 40 as well. Ampharos, I think, is like in the level 30s, so they're not XL'd, but they still do require, you know, a few 100,000 Stardust. But either way, this team is very accessible. I think most people probably have at least access to these Pokemon. If you don't have a Shadow Ampharos, you can easily substitute a regular Ampharos in there, but this team is good, guys. It's really, really good, and you're going to look at some very, very high-level gameplay here in around the 2940s to about 30-33, I think is where I ended with the team in 4 sets. So let's get started here and take a look at the team in action and see what we got going on as we pick up the Shadow Dragonite lead. Very, very rough lead. So the Ampharos here is going to be our safe switch on the team, and that is why I'm running the Brutal Swing and Focus Blast. I think it's a very, very versatile moveset, and it provides a lot of coverage against the meta. So here, I just full send the Focus Blast here. They're probably going to shield it. They do shield it, but I didn't want to risk the bait there. In my opinion, it was just a little bit too risky for them to call it, considering I was already down to shield. So I do get even shields here. I do get some chip damage with those Volt Switches, and the Venusaur actually doesn't have the worst matchup here. As you see, from full health with a pretty good ranked Venusaur like mine is, I think it's a rank 4. You can easily tank 2 Stone Edges, so I'm not going to have to shield the second Stone Edge either here. And my goal hopefully is going to be to come out of this matchup with some energy. I believe I'm going to take them out with a Frenzy Plant and then bank some energy here for the Venusaur for later. I'm not sure I'll make another move with the Venusaur, but hopefully I will actually be able to use it as a catch at the very least if I need to. So we're going to get the Night Slash off on the Dragonite. I'm going to have to shield whatever they throw, and my only chance here is going to be that they're weak in the back to this Obstagoon. And with a Flyer on the lead, they very well could be, and there's a Jellicent in the back. So this is not over. That Dragonite did get a lot of chip damage on us with those Dragon Breaths, so we're already probably in, like, I would say 3 Surf range, and we are out of shields now. So this is going to be a very close endgame, but fortunately, even though I wasn't able to save enough energy for a move on the Venusaur, I do have enough health to make the catch. So I wait for them to throw 3 hexes, which would be correct timing for them. Recognizing that in high elos, people do tend to throw on correct timing, and I'm able to get that catch there. Now, the Surf is not quite going to take me out, and I'm recognizing they're going to try to snipe me with the Dragonite, so I instantly click the Night Slash, expecting the Dragonite to come back in. It does come back in. I'm on like 2 HP. Can I survive 1 hex? And I survive 1 hex on literally 1 HP, and I counter down the Ghost type for the win, and that is just game 1 with the team, guys. Really bad core breaker there. And another fairly difficult lead here in the next battle. Shadow Drapion, very, very tricky for the Venusaur. And the Ampharos doesn't have the best matchup in, but fortunately, we do force them to switch out. Do they respect a move here? And no, they do not. They called that we were on Focus Blast and Brutal Swing. That could have been a Zap Cannon. It could have one-shotted them, but very ballsy call by the opponent. You have to respect it. And now, the nice thing here is, Venusaur typically can resist everything here. Obviously, the Meteor Mash is going to be neutral, but most of the time, they're not running the Psychic, so we don't really have to worry about shielding that, and we actually fully farm down, and we come out with 100 energy, which is very nice. Now, the opponent makes a very interesting decision here. They actually decide to come in with their Cresselia, whereas the moves would all be fully resisted there on the Drapion, so I'm not really sure that was the play by them. But because we're able to land some heavy neutral damage onto that Cresselia, and we still have 2 shields here. Now, I make a bit of a mistake here. I should probably just be committing to the farm down. I didn't want to take another Sludge Bomb, but there I get caught in the CMP tie, and I wasn't counting. I believe this is just a crunch, and I end up shielding a crunch, which is really annoying. I'm now out of shields, And that means that the Cresselia can take me out with a Moonblast. No, actually I do have one shield, but this, yeah, it just would have been much better served shield on the Cresselia. I could have farmed them all the way down there and then had 2 shields. So instead, I'm going to have to make the catch onto the Venusaur. Once again, they go for the Grass Knot. They fully undercharge as well, so nice play by them. They get like 3 or 4 extra Psycho Cuts, but now I think I'm going to have to make another play here. I'm going to have to call a Grass Knot bait. I think they would have made double Moonblast if they just would have gone straight Moonblast, but recognizing I was in a really dire situation, my only win con there was to call the Grass Knot. I survived the Grass Knot, and now I'm going to double Night Slash the Cresselia, and that is going to be a GG. Now, I wasn't really counting. I'm pretty sure they would have made double Moonblast because they easily made double Grass Knot. It's only like 1 extra Psycho Cut to get to the Moonblast, so I think that was a bit of a mistake by the opponent there. No really reason for them to bait, but by calling the bait, we take the game and we pick up a Virizion lead here in the next battle. Virizion is actually a pretty common pick, but Venusaur actually has a really, really nice matchup against Virizion. Even if they're running Stone Edge, which I didn't really see too many that were running Stone Edge, and they bring in a Drapion here. Now, we are going to chip just because we want to guarantee that we can keep this alignment here, and that will just make it a lot more comfortable for our Venusaur because we don't really want the Ampharos to be aligned to that Virizion if we can help it. So Drapion is going to Sludge Bomb us here. I believe I am going to have to throw energy here. Otherwise, they would make another move. So I think I just go double Cross Chop here. Probably could have Night Slashed. I do actually Night Slash here, just in case I get the boost. But yeah, didn't want to risk the Drapion taking back Switch here, because again, I just don't want to risk my Ampharos being aligned to this thing. And since they switched out, that's probably cueing me in that they're not running Stone Edge. And yeah, they're just running Leaf Blade. They do want to be throwing the Sacred Swords, because the Sacred Sword is going to be single resisted. Leaf Blade is double resisted. So definitely better to throw the Sacred Sword, if you're the opponent there. But I think there, I actually shielded since they shielded. I thought maybe they were going to pull like a 10,000 IQ play where they went for the Leaf Blade, trying to lull me into the fact they didn't have Stone Edge and then Stone Edge me there and KO me. But by shielding that, they basically just telegraphed to me that they had something weak in the back to the Venusaur. And sure enough, it was the Jellicent, and the Venusaur there just fully core broke their entire team, which is very nice. As we pick up a Clefable lead here in the next battle, and again, the opponent is staying into a matchup that's not ideal for them, similar to the Virizion matchup in the last battle. So that tells me they probably are going to be double weak to this Venusaur in the back somewhere. So what I actually decided to do is I actually go for a catch there on my Ampharos. I want to lure out whatever they have in back that the Venusaur, they don't want the Venusaur to be aligned to, And sure enough, it is actually a Swampert now. They're probably not going to shield this, but some Swamperts actually do shield because the Ampharos can actually learn Trailblaze. So sometimes these Ampharos are running Trailblaze, which does scare the water types into shielding. The water ground types like the Swamperts sometimes do shield the Ampharos. Now, in that situation, they didn't shield it simply just because they knew I had the Venusaur still, so there really wasn't a reason for them to preserve the Swampert. And there, I try to go for the Night Slash catch. I just am a little too slow there. It's actually an Aerial Ace, so maybe they're running Aerial Ace and Earthquake. Typically, I did see most of these Gliscors running Night Slash and Earthquake, but we're in a really comfortable position now because the Venusaur still has some health and energy, and Goon is just so incredibly bulky, and they're shielding up the moves. And at this point, I can just go straight for the Night Slash here, take them out, and their Swampert does have some health still, but we can just save our shield for the Venusaur at this point, I believe. And actually, they did catch onto the Swampert as well, so nice play by them, but I'll just shield up here. I believe I just shield up, take them out, and then they're going to be forced to throw energy on the Gliscor to take out my Obstagoon, and then Venusaur should just be able to Vine Whip them all the way down, or make the Frenzy before them. Either way, this should be a GG, because I believe our Venusaur is quite a bit healthier than their Gliscor, and yeah, we're just going to Vine Whip them down. Actually, a really close battle in the end there, but we take the game. Very nicely played to the opponent. And in the next battle, we have another Virizion lead here. Virizion, again, a very common Pokemon, and oftentimes it is paired up with like a water type in the back. So really, really nice to see this on the lead. They're fully core broken again. They're going for Leaf Blades. So either way, whether they're running Stone Edge or Sacred Sword, they should definitely be going for the Sacred Swords here. And again, I was actually really tempted to shield that, thinking, again, maybe the opponent was going to try to do like a really high IQ play and like lull me into the fact that they weren't running Stone Edge and then Stone Edge me. But again, they just for some reason went for that Leaf Blade at the beginning, and then they go for Sacred Swords. I come out of here with a ton of energy. They're probably not going to be shielding it, and what is going to be in the back? It's actually a Golisopod here. So what I'm going to do now is actually safe switch again, just because they could be double weak. This could be double water, and if they stayed in for so long, they very likely could be weak in the back. So I like to make sure that I safe switch out of there, and sure enough, it's a Greninja in the back. And the question is, do they respect the Focus Blast? They absolutely do not. They were down a shield already. They knew we had the Venusaur on the lead, so they really weren't incentivized to shield that. And I just straight up nuked them there. And I actually shield the Ampharos as well, just recognizing the Volt Switch damage is going to be really clutch here for me. And I get them super, super low. And yeah, now I can just come in with a Venusaur, force them to throw, and Obstagoon can easily tank multiple X-Scissors. I think we could even take 2 X-Scissors. We'll have to see how much damage this does. I definitely no-shield the first one, and yeah, we could easily tank another one, no problem, and we take another battle. So as you guys see, Venusaur is actually a really nice lead. It tends to core break quite a few teams as we pick up Walrein here. Now, Walrein's a little bit tricky. I do have 2 good responses in back as well, but I do like to at least get 1 shield off of them before I safe switch out of there, because the Ampharos on the safe switch tends to do a little bit better with at least 1 shield down. You're just going to be more likely to be able to land that Focus Blast. So I do try to catch the Icicle Spear. They pivot out into a Cobalion, and honestly, guys, I think I lose this battle, and I think that the loss really comes down to this bait call right here. I do throw after 2 Volt Switches for correct timing, and there, you know, a lot of people just don't like to bait in this ELO range, so I should have just called that the opponent was probably going to shield, and then I probably should have committed to the Focus Blast there, because now the opponent can just farm up a ton of energy, and I do get them low, but now they're going to have a ton of energy from my Venusaur, and very likely with the lead that they had with the Walrein on the lead, and seeing that they have another thing that's weak to counter in the Cobalion here, very likely they're going to have a good answer to the Obstagoon in the back. And sure enough, it's a Shadow Gliscor, and there's just not really a win con for me. If I could have baited, I think if I could have baited there and then taken out their Cobalion with the Ampharos, forced them to dump some energy on the Ampharos, my Venusaur would be a lot healthier, and I think I could have won this battle. But at this point, the Shadow Earthquake's going to be KOing my Obstagoon. Very nice overfarm again by the opponent. They played that very, very well. And yeah, there's just not a lot I could do there. So I do end up top lefting in that battle, but again, this team's not perfect. You are going to lose some battles, but as you guys have seen so far, we've seen quite a few teams that are double weak to Venusaur and double weak to the Obstagoon. As we pick up, I forget, I think it was a Greninja lead, and they have a Tentacool that has safe switch into us, and this is totally fine. I can just stay in for a little bit, do some chip damage on them, get their shield, and then bring in the Ampharos, because our whole team beats Greninja, so it doesn't really matter where I see the Greninja. So I bring the Ampharos in just because Ampharos is a little bit more versatile, and I can definitely get some damage off onto their Greninja with it when they come back in. So they actually bring in their third here, which is a Galarian Weezing. Now, Galarian Weezing is a little bit tricky. They again call that I'm not on a move that can hit them for neutral. They no-shield that, and they actually go for a Brutal Swing there, and I live it. And at this point, I just want some chip damage here. They're throwing a Brutal Swing into me, so that tells me they're probably not running like a Play Rough. They're probably on Overheat and Brutal Swing, and they are on Overheat. So I have to keep that in mind for my Venusaur later on. Gonna be a little bit tricky, and here, you're gonna see me make a pretty, I would say, higher level play. I believe they do take me out with the Hydro Cannon here, and I'm gonna fully undercharge this Cross Chop here. Reason being, if I take out their Greninja, their Galarian Weezing comes in, farms me down, and probably makes an overheat onto my Venusaur and takes me out. So I actually undercharge the move there, and that allows me to farm down the Greninja and make Double Frenzy before they make the overheat, and I take out the Galarian Weezing with some resisted charge moves there. So that was just some good game recognition there, that I couldn't allow their Galarian Weezing to get a farm down on my Obstagoon. And in this battle, we safe switch into the Shadow Ampharos. And folks, if you haven't seen a Shadow Steelix yet in the Ultra League, then you must be living on another planet, because these things are just absolutely everywhere. And in this matchup, the opponent has already debuffed me. They know they can live a Focus Blast, so I actually bait there, and now they probably think I'm not running it, and I'm actually going to land it now, and I take back switch against a ground type with an electric type. The reason that I didn't throw the Focus Blast first is because the opponent knew they could live it, and then they could just shield up the future Brutal Swings and make sure they maintain alignment there. But by going for Brutal Swing first, I knew they were going to no-shield it, and then I lulled them into a false sense of security that I wasn't running it, and I actually managed to take back switch there. So normally, that's a pretty comfortable matchup for the Steelix to just shield and then just farm down, but I played that mid-game very, very well, and unfortunate for the opponent, because now they have their Shadow Claw Giratina aligned to my Obstagoon, and our Venusaur, I believe, I can't remember, I think it was the Giratina on the lead, I think I was thinking that their Venusaur is going to be, or my Venusaur is going to be strong in the back, since they had two pretty good answers to it. And sure enough, yeah, it's a Greedent in the back. And for the opponent, this game is basically over now. I do make the Body Slam catch as well, just to preserve the health on the Obstagoon for the Giratina, because they're not going to be able to Shadow Claw me down later on. They have, I think they are pretty much just about in Night Slash range, and they're just not going to be able to do enough fast move pressure to me to take me out here. So I throw on CMP here. It's always good to throw on CMP when you know you win CMP, just to maximize your overfarm, because as you can see, I was sneaking through the Vine Whips as they threw, and then I was CMP tying them. So effectively, I was getting myself one fast move ahead of them. And at this point, yeah, they should be top lefting here. There's just nothing they can do. I think they actually let this go, recognizing it's over. And yeah, they just let it go and they stop attacking. So very well played to the opponent there. Really taking switch advantage there was what won me that battle, because Venusaur can do absolutely nothing into Giratina. Now, this is a really clutch battle. Very nicely played by the opponent, as you're going to see. There is a Tapu Fini on the lead, which is an amazing lead for us, and the opponent pivots into a Shadow Drifblim. So very cool team so far. The nice thing is we do boost here, which means this next Night Slash will just about KO. Whereas if it didn't KO here, this would actually be a little bit awkward for us. Now, I think maybe what I should have done is stop attacking and let them get to one more move and get me low, because what ends up happening is the opponent uses this as a very, very nice opportunity to fully farm down my Goon. Now here I do actually build up to the Gunk Shot just on the chance that they shield it, and again, I'm trying to overfarm massively, maybe to trick them into the fact that I'm running a big move, but I'm not. The opponent knows that they don't really have a lot of play with the Fini, since I was running the Venusaur on the lead, so they correctly no-shield it, and they bank a ton of energy, and they have a Shadow Steelix in the back, and this is just looking really, really awkward for me, because Shadow Steelix with 2 shields is just such a good Pokemon. It is just so hard to deal with. They shield the first Frenzy correctly, and now we're going to have a really difficult time taking this out. I know I have to save that Venusaur for the Tapu Fini, so I switch out, but unfortunately, these Brutal Swings after the debuff are just not going to do enough damage, and my Venusaur is just going to take too much damage trying to get rid of this Venusaur. I can't really shield this. The opponent perfectly throws just before I make the move. I can't shield this, and at this point, my only play here is to try to farm them down and come out with Double Frenzy Plant, but as you're going to see, I believe the opponent actually banked a move there, and I shield that, just recognizing they're going to make 2 anyway. Maybe I should have just thrown the Frenzy there before they made the second one, but yeah, the opponent banked a move here, so I am going to win CMP, and I am going to get their last shield, but I'm not going to get to use this second Frenzy Plant here because they banked their Breaking Swipe. So very nicely played game by the opponent. They lost the lead, and they still managed to take the win, so very well played. Maybe I could have thrown that Frenzy Plant earlier and not had to use a shield against the Fini. Maybe that was my win con, but then I think the opponent just farms me down with the Dragon Tail, so yeah, just really well played game by the opponent. We pick up a Cresselia lead here in the next battle. Most Cresselias are not running Future Sight, so I really wasn't too worried about taking a Future Sight there. And as you see, they bank some energy and they switch out, so they're very likely not going to be running the Future Sight there. And they have a Shadow Claw Giratina, and I meet them with the Obstagoon. And this is just a very, very nice matchup. And again, what you're going to be seeing me do here is get my counters through as they throw, and then throw on CMP to win CMP against the Giratina. What that does, again, is it just allows me to get ahead on energy, because I know I win CMP, so they're not getting an extra Shadow Claw through as I throw, but I'm getting a counter through as they throw. And again, you're going to see me farm up to 4, because the Shadow Claw and the Dragon Claw is going to be 5-4, 5-4. So again there, I am now ahead on energy, and that should allow me to actually get to a move before the Cresselia if they overfarm. And they recognize that. They're just going to fully take me out here. But no, they bait. They actually baited there. Really, really unfortunate call by them. There's just really no reason for me to shield the Goon there, since it already did so much work taking out the Cresselia. And now Venusaur is actually going to come into the Cobalion here. We wanted to avoid the whatever their, what was the other Pokemon? Oh, Cresselia, yeah. We wanted to avoid the Cresselia just in case they are running Future Sight, because they haven't revealed the Moonblast yet. Since they did Grass Knot my Goon, I kind of think I maybe was thinking that they were running Future Sight, but at this point, we're just going to save 2 shields for the Shadow Ampharos. We're going to get a very nice farm down here. We actually preserve the Venusaur as well, but we can just save our shields, I believe, for the Cress. Or do I shield? Maybe calling that a move from the Cobalion is going to do more than Cresselia, since Cresselia is a very bulky Pokemon that doesn't hit super hard. I think that's what I was calling there. But at this point, we can just go straight for these Brutal Swings, and we're easily going to be taking them out here after like another Volt Switch or 2. And I can even no-shield that if I wanted to, because even if they were on Future Sight and they were not running Future Sight the whole time, I still could have lived it, and that's going to be a GG. I believe we have like 2 or 3 more battles, guys. Hope you're enjoying this so far. You know, I probably will end up time marking this, so you can jump through the battles if you want to, but the team is just really, really strong, guys. Very interesting by the opponent there to answer our Goon with a Cobalion. I mean, I think the play for the opponent there was probably to actually chip me first with the Charizard. They let me get ahead on energy, and then they switch in, and this is actually going to allow me to put in some work against the Cobalion. Now, this is obviously a losing matchup. I'm not really going to be able to take switch back from the opponent, but I do manage to get them very low, and I get a shield back as well. And what this is going to do is it's going to allow me to come in with the Venusaur here and fully farm down their Cobalion. Now, if they would have stayed in and Blast Burn my Obstagoon, I probably would have had to shield that, and then they could have come in with the Cobalion and just gone for 1 Sacred Sword and taken me out, and that would be a lot more comfortable position for the opponent than them just waiting a little bit and then pivoting into the Charizard, because I'm actually able to land a Sludge Bomb on the Charizard. I get a Volt Switch of damage off as well, and that has gotten that Charizard very, very low, and I still have energy banked on my Venusaur as well. So now all I have to do here is get this Golisopod extremely low, and then come out of this matchup with the Venusaur and Sludge Bomb their Charizard, and I'm going to take back a very, very rough lead from the opponent here, and I think this will just barely not KO as well, and that Volt Switch actually forces them to throw. That would have KO'd them, and now Venusaur can farm down, make the Sludge versus the Charizard, and they did not leave with a move, and that's going to be a GG. So you guys have seen this team take out a Shadow Charizard lead and a Shadow Dragonite lead. You absolutely love to see it. As we pick up, I believe this actually might be the last battle. I can't remember. This might be the second to last battle, actually, but we pick up another absolutely terrible lead here. Shadow Alolan Sandslash into the Venusaur. We switch into the Ampharos. They're staying in, and they go for an Ice Punch there, and I'm recognizing now this Shadow Claw has gone through, so they're now going to be at the Drill Run. So I just click on my Brutal Swing right away, and I win CMP, and I've gotten now their A-Slash very, very low, and at this point I'm just going to let my Ampharos go down, but now I've gotten their A-Slash into a range where my Venusaur potentially can handle it later on, and our switch clocks are also very, very misaligned. So I'm going to bring in the Goon, expecting them to switch out, and they have a Poliwrath in the back, and this is actually looking really, really good for me. So now they have the Sandslash on the lead, and I recognize that Sandslash is going to be very weak to fighting and very weak to fire. So they very likely are going to be weak to my Venusaur in the back, and by over-farming there, I'm actually able to get a Frenzy off onto this A-Slash here, and they actually shield it, and this tells me that they're definitely weak to the Venusaur in the back. So I'm actually going to shield this, recognizing they probably have another good answer to my Goon in the back, and I'm actually going to fully Vine Whip them all the way down, and it's actually a Cresselia in the back. And now I can just double Frenzy this, and then switch into my Goon, and Goon easily tanks 1 Moonblast, and this should just about put them into Night Slash range here, and they're not going to make another Moonblast before I make another Night Slash, and I think they recognize it at this point after this Night Slash lands. I think for them, their only win con was to Moonblast debuff me there, because yeah, I was just going to farm them down and then make a move against the A-Slash, and that is going to be a GG. And this is the last battle, folks, the Nightmare lead. I did face a couple of these. I did win a couple of them, but I believe that the ones that I won were on Charm. The Powdered Snow variant is very, very rough. It is a very big core breaker for this team. So the way I like to play it is I stay in initially. I can actually live 1. You actually see there, I actually clicked on the Ampharos. I tried to switch out because I didn't want to give them a massive farm down, but unfortunately my switch doesn't register. They farm me all the way down, and this is just looking really, really rough because our moves are resisted on the Ampharos, and Obstagoon really doesn't want to see this thing either. So we do actually, I believe CMP tied them here. This should just about be Brutal Swing range now, but they have a Swampert, and yeah, there's just not going to be a lot I can do here because the Shadow Swampert's going to farm me all the way down. I'm not running Trailblaze, so I'm not going to be able to KO them here, and our Goon is just going to be... We're just going to have way too much for our Goon to do here because they're going to land a Hydro here. I do call that it's not an Earthquake here. I tank 1, but I am going to have to shield another one, and Goon is now going to be down shields and down energy. I mean, I guess we're going to be technically at 0 energy when we come out of this matchup, so we're going to be an even energy against the opponent here, but we're just down too much health, and they have a Red Steel in the back. So maybe if I actually would have let that Hydro Cannon go and then committed my... Would that have worked? Maybe actually I could have won that battle if I just would have let the Hydro go, because another Shadow Hydro wouldn't have KO'd, and the opponent would have had a rough time lock-on farming me down. So maybe if I would have kept a shield, I could have beat that Reggie, but That was just a call I made in the moment that, yeah, I kind of had to shield that because I didn't know it was in the back, obviously. So anyway, very well played to all my opponents there. Some really fun battles, some higher level gameplay. I hope you guys enjoyed the commentary. Sorry, I cannot speak at the end of the videos, but anyway, guys, if you're looking for a team that requires no XLs, no legendaries, and you're trying to make a push in the Ultra League here, try this team out. It did very, very well for me, and I really just think there's not a lot of options if you don't have XLs, but this definitely could be a good option for you guys. So thank you so much for watching. That is the end of the video, and I believe I will probably put out some more Ultra League footage later in the week. We will see how much time I have, but that being said, if you are new to the channel and you're not subscribed, please consider subscribing, because the more subscribers we can get, the more Pokemon my wife will let me play.